Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever or whenever you are in the world. I'd like to thank you for joining me for this Just the Tip. So, I had a couple of people ask me about character creation, and because I create characters uh, and, and kind of fit the story to the characters, and i.e., I put them in a situation to let them choose. Um, I try to create them as real as I possibly can. So I know there's other ways to do this. This is just the way I do it. So there's not to say that there's a wrong way, but so I don't really plot my stories. Like I said, I usually have a situation. Maybe there's a generic character associated with it when I get my inspiration, whether that's through music or through a picture or just something that pops into my skull. Maybe something that I've watched or listened to comes together with something else I've watched or listened to, and I get a situation. Sometimes there's a character, sometimes there's not. Um, but after I have the situation, I create the character or characters. And making the characters as real and believable as possible is the real goal. So you may not even like your characters. You may love your characters. You may not even like them. Um, but you might even despise them, but you'll know them and you'll understand how they will react logically and make the story more authentic at that point. I try to achieve this. I don't know if I always do. The more feedback you'll get, the better you'll be able to craft this. And just read up on sociology and psychology, and you get a basic understanding. There's no need to get deep into these characters unless you're pulling some great thing from deep inside you emotionally. But the more you know, the better off you'll be. Now, part of the process is to see the characters as your reader will see them. Okay, that means you have to understand how the upbringing of the character, the family situation of the character, the race of the character, the culture, their gender, where they come from, what level of income they are. All these things go into what a person is. You're more than the sum of your parts, but the sum of your parts can help people understand the sum of the parts of the character will help you understand how the character will make decisions. For example, you know how Picard would have made a decision. You know how Luke Skywalker would have made a decision before. This is what makes people so upset when the mainstream changes characters, is because you know how they're supposed to react, and then when they don't react that way, it doesn't seem authentic. It doesn't seem real. Seems forced, and i.e. is a bad story. So you want your characters to be believable. So you have to take the audience's proclivities, generalizations, and prejudices into account. Okay, their biases when you create a character. So in order to stay consistent, you really need a character sheet, and I've got one drawn up here. And I learned how to write, how to create characters from playing Dungeons and Dragons from the time I was God, I was only like 8 years old when I first started playing. I could barely understand what the rules meant back and forth. I could read them, and I used to sit and just read the monster manual and stuff, and the Fiend Folio. Um, Now this was in the early '80s, and I played from the time I was probably in the third grade until I was a senior in high school. Um, but that's part of knowing how to tell a narrative, playing it for that many years with so many different people. You come to understand how the way different people interact and how you want your archetypes to work. um, so to keep track of everything, like on page 1 of your novel, your character's eyes are blue. On page 68, they're green. Those kind of things. Can you have a note system? All you really need is character sheets. And then I don't really plot, but I do make an outline of where I think I want things to go. If they deviate, I go back and edit my guide, which is my outline. So let's go ahead and I want to share the screen with that on it. Yeah, okay. So let me go to make it where we can view it is one page. All right, or yeah, let's do it this way. But anyway, so basic character sheet here. Let me see if I can make it bigger so we can scroll over and see it on the video a lot better. All right, so of course you want their name. Now this resembles a Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing game character sheet, which is the idea because you want to have a certain set of rules that limit your character because you want them to be believable. And in order to be believable, they have to do true things, and that makes them authentic. So if you think about it, the name, of course, you have their name, you have their role, whether they're the antagonist, the protagonist, a secondary but main themed character, or if it's a tertiary or a character from off the side. Okay. Place of birth, because this also where they're born, how they're raised, that sort of stuff. What race, age, and gender they are. Men and women do things differently. They think things differently, etc. Strength. Now, we're going to do attributes because you want to be able, you know, that somebody who is perhaps below average intelligence is going to do things with a different motivation that people who are super intelligent will. Same thing with somebody who is weak physically as opposed to somebody who is strong physically. And if you give them a rating from 1 to 10, I use 1 to 20 because that's Dungeons and Dragons and that's what we used to use. So I understand that scale a little bit better. And I can pull from my knowledge of the general rules involved to formulate the character archetype and what they're going to be about and what their motivations are. So we have notes here. You know, you got charm, how dexterous they are, how much punishment they can take with the Constitution. If they're wise, you don't necessarily have to be smart to be wise. And then physical prowess, strength. Motivations. So this is a generalization. I think I know D&D goes much deeper into these things with saving throws, things like that, explain things. But that's the part of this thing that we use to tell story, and we make that up as we go. Motivations are under note. Any psychoses or illnesses they have, their relationships, how that affects them. Things that are out of the ordinary that may have happened to them that will affect their decision making, things of that nature. And then you go into their biography. You tell a basic background biography, who their family, friends, education, what they like, what they don't like. You could put walks on the beach for all I care. What it is, this is for you. And you'll never share it with anybody else except maybe your beta reader or somebody who's helping you edit, perhaps. But this is for you. This is for you to keep track. And you can even go down here and say, okay, this is sheet 1. We're going to rename that. Let's put that Bill Saget. Bill Saget. And that's character Bill Saget. And we can have a whole list of these per story, you know. I'm going to rename this so that if we do any more future Just the Tip videos where we can use this, then I'm going to use this as the character sheet template. Now, I do want to do a series of Just the Tips here pretty soon. That is, I'll have 1, maybe 2 a week. I'm hoping very soon to have a co-host lined up so that we can do the Thursday night story. Might end up having to do Sunday night story streams, which means I'll have to adjust the schedule a little bit. The goal eventually is to have 1 story a week, 2 Just the Tips a week in a live stream. So that's the goal. That's not always going to be able. I might have to cut back adjust the tip or two, maybe a story, and do the live stream. I want to always do a live stream every week if I can. So that's the goal. It seems that I grow better when I'm doing live streams than when I'm not. And I just need a regular co-host to be able to do those. But as you can see, you go and you're going to want to add more things. Like in here, you might add eye color, height, weight, attributes, hair color, haircut, style, clothes, style, that kind of thing. You might want to put in there these. Sorry, that's my OCD kicking in. I gotta have everything separated out. Otherwise, when I print it, it's gonna look like dog garbage. All right, so we got our background, our motivations, eye color, all that stuff. We got all this stuff here. All right, so this is our character. We're going to use this to kind of guide us and keep us consistent throughout the story. So probably what I'll do is I'll do several just the tips. The next few will be writing, let's say, one of the Halloween stories, because I'm working on 2 of those at the moment, and I'm working on my AI story for this week. I'm going to get a few more stories. I've got the wizard story that's doing really well. People like it. I got the basically the retelling of Moses, except it's not. The Wandering Wilderness story. And I'm going to have the AI story this week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday is where I'm going for. And then one more story that's a normal story. And then I'll probably do a second chapter of The Wizard and a second chapter of the Wandering Wilderness while I work on Halloween stories, because I am determined to have 31 days of Halloween this year. I think that if I do it correctly, that will push us over, and we might actually see 1,000 subscribers before December, before Christmas. That's my hope. That's my goal. So wish me luck. I hope that this helped you out. This is one of those things that you can keep control of your story. But let me preface this. You have to do this. You have to limit your character creation, just like you have to limit your organization, okay? If you get caught up in the act of organizing, this is why I tell people it's a horrible idea to just write your story out handwritten, because most creatives are very aesthetic, and if the handwriting is ugly, you're not going to keep doing it. You're going to focus on how neat it is and not what the language is and what is going on. So all of these ideas, you can get caught up in the idea of it rather than getting your story written or your novel, etc. So I hope this helps everybody. If it did, please hit that thumbs up button and share this out to your friends and family. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope that I've earned your subscription and you'll do so. Again, as always, I want you to remember that your life is your story. Make it a great one. Good night.